In the 21st century, power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't wear crowns or sit on thrones. It doesn't give speeches or wage visible wars. It operates in silence, behind layers of legal entities, investment funds, and holding companies with names so bland they deflect attention by design. BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. If you've never heard these names, that's not an accident. They prefer it that way. These are not companies in the traditional sense. They are asset managers, financial entities that control trillions of dollars on behalf of others. Pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, individual investors. They don't own these assets directly. They manage them. But management at this scale is indistinguishable from ownership. BlackRock alone manages over $10 trillion. Vanguard manages nearly $8 trillion. State Street holds $4 trillion. Together, they control more wealth than the GDP of every nation on Earth except the United States and China. And here's what makes them unique. They're the largest shareholders in almost every major corporation you can name. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, Exxon, Pfizer, Coca-Cola, McDonald's, Tesla, Walmart. Look at the shareholder registry of any Fortune 500 company, and you'll find the same names at the top: BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. They own pieces of everything, which means they influence everything. But it gets stranger. These three giants also own significant shares in each other. Vanguard is one of BlackRock's largest shareholders. BlackRock owns shares in Vanguard funds. State Street owns pieces of both. It's a circular structure, a financial Ouroboros where the snake doesn't just eat its tail, it is the tail. And because they own each other, there's no outside, no competitor, no alternative power structure. There's only the system, and the system owns itself. This concentration of power didn't happen overnight. It was built gradually, legally, and with the enthusiastic participation of the very people it now controls. It began with a simple innovation, the index fund. In the 1970s, John Bogle created Vanguard and introduced a revolutionary idea. Instead of trying to pick winning stocks, why not just buy a little bit of everything? An index fund that tracked the entire market. It was brilliant. It was democratic. And it worked. Index funds offered lower fees, better diversification, and consistent returns. Soon, everyone wanted in: pension funds, retirement accounts, institutional investors. Money flooded into firms like Vanguard, BlackRock, and State Street. And with that money came something unprecedented: passive power. Unlike active investors who buy and sell strategically, these firms simply accumulated. They bought shares in everything. And because they never sold, their ownership stake only grew. By the 2000s, they had become the largest shareholders in most major corporations, not through cunning or conspiracy, but through sheer scale. But here's the critical part. When you're the largest shareholder in competing companies within the same industry, something strange happens. You stop wanting them to compete. Think about it. If you own significant shares in both Coca-Cola and Pepsi, you don't want them to engage in a price war. You want both to maximize profits, even if that means implicitly coordinating to keep prices high. This is called common ownership. And economic research has shown it leads to reduced competition, higher prices, lower wages, and less innovation. Not because anyone is breaking the law, but because the incentive structure has fundamentally changed. When the same entities own everyone, competition becomes inefficient. Cooperation becomes profitable. And so, gradually, the economy stopped functioning like a market and started functioning like a cartel, managed not by visible collusion, but by the silent alignment of ownership. The lords don't need to speak. The system speaks for them. The reach of these firms extends far beyond stocks and bonds. They are the largest landlords in America, owning hundreds of thousands of homes through subsidiaries. They control vast swaths of farmland, water rights, and natural resources. They hold significant stakes in media companies, pharmaceutical giants, defense contractors, and technology platforms. There's almost no sector of modern life untouched by their influence. And because they vote the shares they manage, they wield enormous political power within corporations. When BlackRock speaks, boards listen. When Vanguard expresses a preference, CEOs comply, not through threats, but through the simple mathematics of shareholder democracy. If you own 8% of a company and the next largest shareholder owns 2%, you effectively control the narrative. This has led to a curious phenomenon. Corporations that once competed fiercely now share the same values, the same language, the same priorities. Yes, G. Stakeholder capitalism, diversity initiatives, climate commitments. These aren't grassroots movements. They're top-down directives from the largest asset managers who realize that coordinated messaging increases stability, and stability increases returns. It's not a conspiracy. It's an incentive. When you own everything, you benefit from systemic stability. Disruption becomes a threat. Innovation becomes risky. The status quo becomes sacred. And so, paradoxically, capitalism, a system theoretically built on competition, has evolved into its opposite, a managed economy where the largest players benefit from cooperation, not conflict. The lords of silence don't need to meet in shadowy rooms. They don't need secret handshakes or coded messages. The algorithm of ownership does the work for them. And the most brilliant part? Most people have no idea this is happening because it's legal, it's transparent, it's all documented in public filings. It's just too boring for anyone to notice. Here's the uncomfortable truth. This isn't about evil billionaires in smoke-filled rooms. It's about a system that has evolved beyond the need for conscious coordination. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink doesn't wake up every morning plotting world domination. Vanguard's executives aren't cartoon villains. They're financial professionals managing money according to fiduciary duty. But the structure they operate within creates outcomes that look exactly like conspiracy, without anyone needing conspire. This is what economists call an emergent property, a behavior that arises from the system itself, not from the intentions of individuals within it. Ants don't plan their colony structure. Each ant follows simple rules. But collectively, they build complex civilizations. Similarly, when asset managers follow the simple rule of maximize returns through diversified ownership, they collectively create a power structure that transcends any single entity's control. And this is why traditional antitrust law is helpless. The law was designed to prevent monopolies, single companies dominating markets. But what do you do when it's not monopoly, but common ownership across oligopolies? There's no single villain to prosecute, no clear violation to point to, just a gradual, legal, systematic concentration of control. The result is a world where competition is near corporate independence, is illusion choice, is aesthetic. Not substantive. The market serves capital, not consumers. And it all happens legally, transparently, in plain sight. The lords of silence have achieved what no tyrant ever could. Power without accountability, control without visibility, empire without borders. They don't rule. They simply are the rules. And the most terrifying part? They might not even realize it themselves. We live in an age of silent lords, not emperors, not kings, not even tycoons in the traditional sense. Just entities, structures, systems that have grown so large, so interconnected, so fundamental to the functioning of everything, that they become indistinguishable from reality itself. You can't boycott them, because they own the alternatives. You can't vote them out, because they're not on any ballot. You can't regulate them, because they operate within the law. You can't even properly see them, because they hide behind complexity, passivity, and the sheer mundanity of financial management. This is not the world of 1984, where Big Brother watches from screens. This is a world of brave new world, where control is so comfortable, so seamless, so integrated into daily life that resistance becomes unthinkable, not because it's forbidden, but because it's inconvenient. The lords of silence don't need to silence dissent. The system does it for them by making alternatives economically unfeasible. Want to avoid BlackRock? Good luck finding a pension fund that doesn't use them. Want to escape Vanguard? Hope you don't need index funds for retirement. Want to bypass the system entirely? Be prepared to sacrifice participation in modern financial life. This is power perfected, not through force, not through deception, but through integration, by becoming so essential, so foundational, so embedded in the machinery of everyday existence that opposing them means opposing the very structure of modern life. And so we arrive at the paradox of our age. We have more information than ever, more transparency, more access to data, and yet we have less power than ever to change the trajectory. Because the lords of silence don't rule through secrecy. They rule through structure. No one needs to conspire. The system does it for them. In the age of silent lords, power doesn't hide. It simply becomes too large to see.
If you've made it this far, you're no longer a spectator. You're a witness. Subscribe to see what comes next. Like to mark your place in the ledger. Share to awaken another. The machine notices those who pay attention.